Hello, everybody. Big Ruben here.
How's everybody doing? My name's Jose.
First, before we even start, I want to wish everybody a happy Father's Day.
Happy Father's Day, everyone.
So, welcome to Men Redefining Manhood, a movement for fathers and men ready to rewrite what it means to be men. Let's redefine manhood together.
So, in observance of Father's Day today, we wanted to bring about a different topic, right? That was more in gratitude and in celebration of those men that have changed us, right? The men that have that have shown us a different way, perhaps than what we've learned in our own families. Because it isn't just about the influence that our fathers have in us, right? But it's also other men that maybe along the way have mentored us, have shaped our lives, have influenced us in a positive way as well. And so in addition to our fathers, I think it'd be great for us to now share stories about who those men are, right? And what they've done for us in our lives as we celebrate Father's Day today.
Yeah. I want to say, and I think I've talked about him before on here. I think of my father-in-law when it comes to, what the role of a man looks like, mentorship, fatherhood, everything. Not just because he's the grandfather to my children, but just the way that he conducted himself. One of the stories that kind of stands out a lot, and I think I've talked to you about this. I think I talked in the past about this. I remember when me and my wife were dating at the time. I was 17. My car that I was driving, the headers had blew out, and I put it up for sale, got rid of it. At that time frame, I had 2 jobs. So I'm like, what do I do now? I was telling my girlfriend at the time, I don't know how I'm going to get to work. I'm going to lose my job. I don't know what I'm going to do. And she told me, oh, no. My cousin works at a dealership. Let's go look at some of the trucks. I think you should be in a truck. And I remember going there and looking at the trucks. I remember seeing them pulling trucks off the thing. And I remember her saying, I'm going to call my dad and he'll help us. And I remember being there, and he did show up. And he asked me, you like the truck? And I'm like, yeah. Like, what do you think about it? Do you think you can financially afford something like this? And I'm like, I don't even know any of that kind of stuff. And he's like, what's your credit like? And I'm like, what is that? I didn't know nothing of that,
What is that?
And he's like, I can help co-sign for you, but I need you to give me your man's word that you're going to take care of this. And I'm like, I didn't even know what that was. I was like, what's co-sign? So he explained it to me, and he ended up co-signing the truck for me. And it's funny because me and my wife actually had this conversation the other day. And to me, that was so impactful because I remember having that conversation with my dad. And my dad at the time thought I was up to no good like my brothers. When I came home with a brand new
truck,
you know what I mean?
At 17.
He's like, what the heck is this?
What are you doing?
And at the time, it was like a $40-something thousand truck. So,
dang, yeah.
To me, it was so impactful because it was like, dude, like, I've been dating your daughter for like 6 months. Like, for you to co-sign and just go off of a man's handshake was so big to me. And I think we talked about it not so long ago. I did ask him. I had the courage enough to ask him, like, why'd you do that? And he did tell me. He's like, you know what? I seen you were decent, you're a decent young man. And I seen that, you're working very hard and all that stuff. He's like, but years ago, a man did this to me. And he told me, one day when you meet a young man and you have the opportunity to do this, help him out. Mm-hmm. And to me, it was so impactful because it was like, I remember my father telling me, I wouldn't even done that for you.
Yeah, wow.
So don't fail this man. And I remember back then when the truck, they used to give me like little stubs to pay. Mm-hmm. And I remember the last stub that I had, I made a copy of the check and the stub, and I gave it to my father-in-law at the time now. I was like, hey, suegro, no, no te fallé. Here's the final payment. He's like, I know you're a decent young man, and thank you, thank you for that. And that's one thing that I prided myself on. I'm like, I'm not gonna fail this man,
For sure.
Not only because I want a future with his daughter, but at the same time, that was such a huge gesture,
Absolutely.
and just the way that he is, I've talked about him quite a bit. He's the man that even my father told me years ago that he's pulled him to the side and told him, I appreciate the man that you are in my son's life, and you've been a great example. And he has, watching his upbringing and watching the man that he is today, it's like, dang, like I remember hearing his story. Like my father-in-law was raised in rough upbringing. His father used to be an alcoholic. He was, his hands all messed up because he went one time to go get him alcohol, and he ended up falling and cutting his hand with the bottle and having to deal with that consequence with his father. And just watching the man he is today, not only like I recall a few incidents like needing somebody's help, and he was always there. And even with my kids today, he's an amazing grandfather. He's he's always somebody to go to. And he does everything with no intent, like for repay. Because I told him, un día te lo va a pagar. Like, I'm going to pay you back.
Yeah,
and he's like, I didn't do that for that. Like, somebody did this nice gesture for me, and this is why I did it.
Yeah, pretty much paying it forward,
Yeah, and it's like, there's not a lot of people like that.
Yeah.
And it's like, dang, it's like, so it made me proud. And I had this conversation with my father not so long, and my wife. It made me proud that somebody did that to me. And I remembered, because I was watching the videos last night. It was funny. We're watching old videos at home that are on our phones and stuff. And I remember going to the dealership, and I remember getting Ruben his car. And I was like, I could really pay it forward. Like, yeah, he's my son, but I'm going to pay it forward where I don't want him to worry about having a car payment. I don't want him worrying about that, because he's a good kid,
Yeah.
And I feel that was my opportunity to pay it forward for him. Like,
yeah, for sure.
I'm going to give you something nice. And, worth to be able to just get you back and forth. So when I think of mentorship, when I think of an amazing man, I think of my father-in-law. Like, he's been nothing.
Yeah, it's interesting, right? Because like we learn lessons. We learn certain lessons from our fathers, and then we learn. We are influenced also by other men that cross our paths. Like you talk about your father-in-law, and for me, I've had various men who have influenced me, that have influenced me and fueled me by a negative experience, and I have had men that have influenced me via a positive experience, right? So one of these men, is a high school teacher, and I talk about this in my book, where he didn't like me, didn't like me, and I didn't like him, and he told me that, and Latino at that, right? He was Mexican, and he told me that I would work at McDonald's the rest of my life, right? And this is you're talking about a 16-year-old, right, in high school, who's lost. Parents are divorced or going through divorce, and they're each, fighting their own battles and finding their own way through life. And here I am, a 16-year-old, trying to figure out my own path. And a person that could have influenced me in a positive way did influence me and motivated me, but it was a negative experience, right? Because that carried me through moments in my life where I felt like giving up. That just made me want to go further, just to make sure that I didn't end up working at McDonald's making minimum wage. Not that McDonald's is a bad job. It's not. I think it's a righteous job. You know, you're going, you do your job, and you're getting paid for it, and so forth, right? But to say that to someone, right, and to not be able to see that person succeed beyond that is what's very telling, right? So that was an influence in my life, you know. And now, you know, in retrospect, if I were to see him, I'd invite him to lunch and I'd tell him thank you, you know, because
not me. I did the opposite. I had a similar experience, but I did the complete opposite.
You know, and that's just, you know, that's just for me. It's out of maturity and out of understanding that, you know, because of that, you know, I've been able to overcome a lot of challenges because it created that fuel in me, right? That I'm sure maybe there would have been some other experience at some point in time too, but that was a very significant experience because, you know, in high school and, you know, and to hear that from a teacher who's supposed to motivate you and who's supposed to be a role model and so forth and hear that, right? It's like, whoa, you know? So that's one. Then I have another. I've had a few other ones. You know, I've learned about cars, and I've learned about cars because of different people in my life. But, you know, the value of money and the value of hard work and business originated from my dad, really. You know, like my dad was the first one to believe in me and giving me a brake job and telling me, do the brake job. I'm going to oversee what you're doing and you get to keep the money. Right. And for me, that was huge because at the age of 12, I had truly earned my first experience of income, you know, like, and, you know, and my dad oversaw the job and everything. Okay, perfect. You know, and so that motivated me to get more into cars and to want to work more, to where, you know, I started my own, you know, side gig, and I would be fixing cars while I was going to college and everything, right? Which was super helpful because, you know, when you're going to college, your classes are spread out throughout the day. So it's hard to find a job that will work with your schedule, you know? And for me, being able to squeeze in a car and do a tune-up or do brakes here and there and put them in weekends or, you know, whenever I had the time in between classes. If I had a 3-hour block, I was like, perfect. I can knock out a brake job, make me some money, and still be able to make it to class, you know? So, you know, I definitely owe that, you know, to my dad, and that's one of the fundamental reasons how and why I've been able to achieve what I have at this point in time, right? Of being able to be in business for myself and everything, because the initial experience of earning an amount that was more significant to any 12-year-old at that point in time made me understand that everything was possible, right? If you just worked hard, you can get there, you know? So, yeah, you know, and yeah, you know, it's so, you know, there's men out there, you know, that do influence us, that motivate us, that mentor us, you know, and I think that we can do the same. We can pay it forward just like you have and just like I have, you know, and be able to guide, you know, younger generations, you know, and other men, right, to take a step forward in the right direction by teaching them that there is a different way. And I think that's pretty cool, actually.
Yeah. I'm glad you went that route, because I also had somebody that was I remember a security guard that was at my school at AV High School. I remember him very, very vividly. I actually ran into him years ago when I was doing fairly well, but I was in my angry, cocky, nasty way. I remember him telling me, like, I was going to amount to shit. He knew my brothers that went to that school, and my brothers caused a lot of chaos. So I remember actually one of the first times that I went to school, he's like, oh, another fucking Peña. And that really stood out to me because I was like, no, like, I'm not distance myself from being, you know, that. And I remember seeing him years later. At the time I was doing really good. You know, at the time I was too fixated on making myself look good for others. I was driving a brand new truck at the time.
Right.
I had like $120 pants on. I had like $1,000 watch on.
Yeah.
And I seen him, and I know that he noticed who I was, and I'm like, oh, remember to tell me that I wouldn't mount for shit? I bet you ain't got a motherfucker like that though, right? And just seeing the look on his face. But then later on, when I was going through my healing process, I'm like, why did I need to do that? And I got humbled because of it. And I think it was because of that, because years later I was out of work for a year, and I remember sitting in my dad's house having a conversation with him and looking at myself like, what am I doing? I don't need this to,
Yeah.
be who I am. But my father was also a big factor in, my wanting to be better, because I seen what he amounted to do. But he would always tell me, don't be another stupid peña, don't be another stupid peña. And he did. I remember one day he took me to work with him, and I remember coming home looking at myself.
You were like, whoa.
My hands are bleeding because working construction, digging trenches and stuff.
Yeah.
And he's like, son, go to school, do something different. And I thank God that I had that opportunity to humble me, to allow that. But on men, see if I can get this one out. One of the men that I want to give kudos to in this is you, Jose.
Thank you, brother.
In the time that we've met, we met through my wife. I remember my wife struggling a lot in her line of work, and I remember her going through so much, and she had finished school, and I remember you guys had talked, and you had told her like, hey, I'm in the process of opening this practice, and come use the office. And you're such a kind man, and wanting to see our community build so much. You were like, come, you invited her and one of your guys' other colleagues and stuff like that, and you guys, the private practice began. And I remember when we went to the office the first time, my wife told me, and she's like, look, this is the office. And I'm like, it's a little ass room,
Yeah.
And I seen her so excited about it, and we prayed a lot on it, and we're like, okay, because she took that big leap, and it was because of you. So I want to tell you that I appreciate that, and I feel that you've been nothing but supportive towards our family for that, because now my wife has been in an amazing position to us, not only for the financial aspect, but also for giving her the flexibility and freedom now with her own business, to do what she does. There's days that she's like, you know what, I'm only going to work half a day. There's a day that she's like, oh, you know what, I got to see all these clients today.
Yeah.
But I want to give, credit where credit's due.
Thank you, brother.
I appreciate that you've given her the opportunity to go with your guidance, and also with your, you've done it. So it's like, molding other people around you, and now look at your private practice. It's humongous, and it's because of you. It's because of the hard work that you put in. And again, I am forever grateful that we've met you, and you've been an amazing mentor for her. And we've had a good relationship on starting this podcast as well, and we've talked a lot, and we have a lot of similarities, and I appreciate you. I want you to know that.
Thank you, brother, man.
Got to give credit where credit's due. Okay.
I'm speechless. But, we're fighting the fight. You know what I mean? The field that we're in is not an easy field. And the reason why we do what we do is because we have a calling for it,
Mm-hmm.
And for me, part of my calling has been to see other people succeed.
And I see that.
There's plenty of room for that, for all of us in this world,
And I see that the genuineness of you is amazing. There's a lot of people that are so arrogant within their bit. Like I've talked to you about previous employers that I've worked at, and I have a previous place that I worked at. And my boss was so arrogant, not wanting to see the improvement, and just your way of being so humble and wanting to see everybody within your organization grow, and look, Jose, look what you've accomplished.
By the grace of God.
Yeah, but it's also you put in the stepping stones to help these people, and God in return sees that, and He's going to continue to bless you.
Yeah.
And
Thanks,
I'm very I'm sincerely appreciative of us meeting you and giving us this opportunity, and it shows. Look how big this practice has grown.
Yeah, and it's
that small little room.
And I can't, I can't take full credit for it, because, like you said, this, teamwork makes the dream work, and the reason why, Discovery Family Services. Excuse me, I'm not sure if you need one, but I do. Got me emotional here, bro.
I have to tell you, man, I got to give you credit, man, because again, like I said, I'm forever grateful for you, man.
Yeah, but it's a teamwork process, and again, Discovery Family Services is what it is because of our team and because of the people. We have amazing people that are part of the team, and outside of Discovery Family Services, it's nice to see, your wife Gabby. It's nice to see, the rest of the clinicians in our office, Isabel, Rocio, Corinne, everybody who's in private practice, who has, in a way, believed in me and allowed me to have taken the risk and have allowed me to guide them into this process, right? For nothing else other than to help people that are in need, and for us to be able to do the work that we do, and for me to be able to see, important people in my life reach a level of success as well that, that I would want for anyone, I think that's that's key, it's free, you know what I mean? Like, to be able to mentor someone and to put yourself in a position where you can say, if I was there at one point and I sought help and I didn't feel like I got it, or people didn't feel like guiding me, now that I've achieved it, I'm not going to follow that pattern. I want to create a different pattern, and I want to be the opposite. I want to be able to guide people and to mentor people, because I know what it's like to be able to navigate this type of a process and to have so many questions, and to know that there's people out there that have the answers, but yet when you ask, they're not quick or easy about giving you the answers, right? Mm-hmm. And I was like, man, that sucks. Like I'm in a vulnerable state. You have the answers that I need for me to reach my success, because I want to reach the success that you have, but yet, you're not giving me those answers. Mm-hmm. Well, then I have no choice, but I got to figure out and find them myself. And so that's what I did, and when I did, I made a promise to God that it's a tough podcast, bro. But it's good. It's good. It's needed.
You said we got to give credit to people.
Absolutely, man. You know, I made a promise to God that if He gave me the success, that I was going to use it for good, and that I was going to pay it forward.
And you have. And you continue to do it. So you will continue to be blessed.
So, you know, now we got to keep going.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know.
We got a whole lot of other zip codes to go after.
Absolutely, bro. Little bit at a time, man. A little bit at a time, but you know,
many other people to be impactful towards, and I feel like that's why this, you know, podcast came up too, because it was such an easy flow. Like I remember talking to my wife about it, and she's like, "That's funny because Jose was talking about doing something similar like that," and I'm like, "Do you think he'd be open to talking to me about it?"
Yeah.
She's like, "Talk to him." And it worked out, and I feel that this is going to be something that's going to be very impactful for not only the men, our community, our culture, you know, future men.
Absolutely. And it doesn't stop here, bro. You know, like we've talked about creating retreats. You know, taking this to a very different level. You know, like the podcasts are great because we put out information, and for the people that come across them, and for the people that see them, you know, it's raw material, right? We're not editing anything. We're putting it out as it comes and as it's recorded, because we want people to see the genuineness of what we do and what we talk about and what we put out, right?
Yeah.
And I hope that, you know, as we take that step and we begin to plan for that leap forward into offering retreats to men, that men are able to see that as well, right? And that we can be in a position to mentor other men, right, in that area, and hopefully, you know, help them in a huge way, you know.
Yeah.
So.
And I believe it. You know, I have faith in God that we will get to that point where, you know, we're going to be able to mentor a lot of other men and help them through, you know, processes that we may not have even gone through. You know.
Yeah.
Or similarities. You know, we have so many similarities, and I've met other people that have so much similarities with me, and I'm like, dang, like, let's get this out here. Let's talk about it.
For sure.
Let's have those conversations, and I just feel that that's why everything has aligned.
Yeah, and it's interesting because, you know, like you know, you talk about like this is something that you had thought about, right? And it's something that I had thought about as well, you know, and but you know, the initiative or the step forward was never taken, you know, because I was like, oh, you know, like I'm not sure, you know, like, oh, you know, I got, you know, the practice going, and how would this look? How would, you know, and not having the ideas or the full idea or vision of what, you know, like what we talk about and everything, you know. And so, excuse me, we end up connecting, and, you know, you brought some great ideas to the table and started unfolding this whole process, and, you know, started offering suggestions and like the different topics, and, you know, the vision of the name and the vision of what this could look like and what it could turn into, you know. And I was like, man, you know what, that was the missing piece right there, you know, that you brought forward. So I want to thank you for that too, you know, like, man, like, you know, they say great minds think alike, right? But at the same time, right, sometimes part of that process, the missing link is you know, is brought forward by someone else, and you're it, man. So, you know,
puzzle pieces that we got to put together.
Yeah, so I appreciate you, man, for that, you know. And we got work to do, and I know things are going to go well for us, and eventually we're going to get to a place where things are going to naturally unfold, you know. So yeah,
I agree.
Yeah. Well, sounds like we're done with this one, right? Yes. Yeah, you know. You guys got to see more of a genuine side of us once again, and so thank you guys for joining in, and for, again, you know, taking the time to listen to our podcast. You know, may all of you out there who are fathers or mentoring or guiding children or other men, you know, continue at it, and happy Father's Day to everyone.
Yeah, happy Father's Day, everybody, and everybody have a blessed day.
Have a good one.
Thanks.